Welcome to the financial circus. You are the main act.
Congratulations, you clicked on this video. That means one of three things. You are already broke and looking for answers. You are dangerously close to being broke and in denial. Or you just enjoy watching other people's financial disasters so you can feel better about your own. Whatever the case, you are in the right place. Today, we are going to walk through the real financial mistakes that every young person makes. The ones know how to get rich influencer will talk about, because they would rather sell you a dream than slap you with reality. We are talking about first paychecks that disappear faster than your will to live on Monday mornings. Credit cards that pretend to be your best friend while quietly draining your soul and the magical delusion that you have. Plenty of time to think about the future while your retirement plan rots in a corner. If you are here looking for sugar-coated tips, you might want to click away now. But if you want the truth, the ugly, hilarious, punchy-in-the-face truth, stick around. Because by the end of this video, you will either hate me for ruining your financial fantasies or thank me for saving you from them, possibly both. So grab your overpriced coffee, silence your phone, and prepare to meet the 5 horsemen of your personal financial apocalypse. Let us begin.
My first paycheck spent before it arrived.
There is a universal truth in early adulthood. Your first paycheck is not money. It is a fleeting illusion. It is the adult version of cotton candy. It looks big, it feels exciting, and then it dissolves into nothing the second you touch it. When I was about to receive my first paycheck, I imagined it would change my life. I pictured myself paying bills, building savings, and investing like a responsible member of society. I even entertained the thought of leaving the money in my account just to admire it. That fantasy lasted approximately 12 seconds. The moment I saw the number on my payslip, something in my brain short-circuited. The logical voice that had been whispering, "Save, invest, be smart," was quickly drowned out by a much louder voice yelling, "Spend it all, you deserve it." This is the most dangerous financial advisor you will ever meet, your own inner idiot. Before the paycheck even hit my account, I had already made a mental shopping list. New clothes? Absolutely. Dinner at that overpriced restaurant I saw on Instagram? Obviously. A new gadget that I did not need but somehow felt emotionally connected to, without question. On payday, I experienced what I can only describe as a financial blackout. I tapped my card like I was conducting an orchestra. Each beep of the payment machine was music to my ears, a soundtrack to my brief but glorious reign as a wealthy individual.
Oh yeah.
By the end of the day, my account balance looked like it had been mugged. I checked my banking app and saw numbers so low I thought I had accidentally logged into someone else's account. The money was gone, and all I had to show for it were a few shopping bags, a receipt from a restaurant, and a deep sense of regret that paired beautifully with my new shoes. The most insulting part is how quickly reality sets in. You go from feeling like a financial champion to realizing that you still have 29 days left in the month and absolutely no plan. Suddenly, that fancy dinner feels like the dumbest possible investment, especially when you are eating instant noodles for breakfast 2 weeks later. Friends and family will tell you that spending your first paycheck is normal, even part of the experience. They will frame it as a rite of passage, a harmless mistake everyone makes. What they will not tell you is that it is also the first step toward forming terrible money habits. Because once you get used to rewarding yourself with every paycheck, you train your brain to believe that you are in an endless loop of income and spending. Which is true, except the loop ends when the bills catch up to you. The psychology behind it is simple. You have spent your life being broke, living on allowances, student loans, or the generosity of family. That first paycheck feels like the universe is finally paying you back. You want to celebrate. You want to prove to yourself that you are not struggling anymore. Unfortunately, proving that usually involves swiping your card until the bank sends you a polite notification that says, "Stop." I wish I could say I learned my lesson immediately, but the truth is that bad habits are stubborn. It took several cycles of payday euphoria followed by financial despair before I realized that my future self would prefer rent money over another pair of sneakers. Now when I look back, I see my first paycheck as a financial cautionary tale. It taught me that the easiest way to lose money is to convince yourself you deserve to spend it. It taught me that instant gratification is expensive, and that no meal, no gadget, and no shopping spree ever feels as good as not worrying about how to survive until next payday. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone about to get their first paycheck, it would be this. Pretend you never received it. Seriously. Put it in a separate account. Lock it away, and give yourself time to think about whether you want to be momentarily happy or consistently stable. One of those feelings lasts a few hours. The other can last a lifetime. In the end, my first paycheck did not make me rich, but it made me wise in the most sarcastic, backhanded way possible. I am now fully aware that money is not about how much you earn, but how little you waste. And if that realization comes with a side of regret and a maxed out debit card, so be it. After all, experience may not pay the bills. But it is definitely cheaper to learn the lesson early than to keep repeating it until you are rich only in debt.
Credit card, the bank's gift to keep you poor.
There is a popular myth that the credit card is a tool for convenience. This is a lie so bold it deserves its own documentary. The truth is far more sinister. The credit card is a beautifully designed trap, a polished weapon in the bank's arsenal to keep you financially dependent forever. When I got my first credit card, I believed it was a symbol of adulthood. The shiny plastic felt like a VIP pass to the world of financial freedom. What I did not realize was that it was actually an all-access pass to the slow and steady draining of my bank account. The first few purchases were innocent enough. A coffee here, a lunch there. The card made it feel painless. Swipe, smile, and walk away. There was no immediate consequence, which is the most dangerous kind of spending. It felt like magic. The magic trick, of course, was that the bill would arrive later, long after the thrill of the purchase had faded. The bank calls it a minimum payment. I call it the eternal hamster wheel. They make it sound harmless. Just pay this small amount and you can keep using the card. What they mean is, please keep paying us interest forever so we can continue funding our marble floors and executive bonuses. The interest rates are a work of art. If a person charged the same percentage on a personal loan to a friend, they would be arrested. But the bank? The bank calls it competitive. They convince you that 15%, 20%, or 30% interest is normal, even generous. It is like being robbed in broad daylight, but the thief gives you a thank you card afterward. The worst part is how the card changes your perception of money. When you pay with cash, you see the bills leave your hand and it hurts a little. The pain is important. It is your brain's way of reminding you that money is finite. A credit card removes that pain entirely. It lets you pretend that your money supply is endless until the statement arrives. And you discover that the endless supply has ended in debt. I used to tell myself that I would use the card only for emergencies. That noble intention lasted exactly 1 week, until I decided that a discounted pair of sneakers counted as an emergency. It is amazing how quickly you can convince yourself that luxuries are necessities. When you have a piece of plastic that agrees with every impulse, the bank thrives on this behavior. They do not want you to pay the balance in full each month. That would ruin the fun. They want you to carry a balance because that is when the real profit begins. Interest piles on interest, and before you know it, you are paying twice the original price for everything you bought. Congratulations. That $10 lunch just became a $20 lesson in financial stupidity. Some people defend credit cards by saying they offer rewards points or cash back. This is adorable. It's the cash back you receive is a fraction of what you are paying in interest. It is like burning down your house for warmth and celebrating because you roasted a marshmallow in the process. The banks are not the villains in this story because they are hiding anything. They tell you exactly how it works. You just do not believe them. The trap is in plain sight, but they wrap it in perks and prestige so that you feel special while you are being financially drained. If you really want to escape the credit card trap, there is only one rule. Treat it like a live grenade. Use it carefully, sparingly, and only when absolutely necessary. Better yet, avoid it entirely. If you cannot pay for something with money you already have, that is the universe politely telling you that you cannot afford it. One wish I had learned this lesson earlier. Instead, I learned it the expensive way, by paying interest on items that I no longer even own. Somewhere in some bank's profit report, there is a line item labeled unnecessary electronics that is entirely funded by my past stupidity. In the end, the credit card is not a gift at all. It is a leash. The bank will keep holding the other end for as long as you let them. So, to every young person who believes their first credit card is a ticket to freedom, it is not. It is an invitation to join the most profitable club in the world. The club where you pay to stay poor, and the door is always open.
Investing like a genius in all the wrong things.
Every young person believes at some point that they are a financial prodigy. You read a few articles, watch a couple of YouTube videos, and suddenly you are Warren Buffett with better hair. You convince yourself that you have discovered the perfect investment strategy, one that the entire financial world somehow overlooked. Spoiler alert, you have not. My personal journey into brilliant investing began with blind confidence and ended with a very expensive education. The first mistake was assuming that research meant scrolling through social media posts with motivational quotes about money. I thought I was gathering insight from experts. In reality, I was just collecting opinions from strangers who had Wi-Fi and a ring light. Then came my first big idea, cryptocurrency. I had no understanding of blockchain, market volatility, or basic investing principles. All I knew was that everyone online seemed to be getting rich from it. This is the dangerous combination that fuels most bad investments. Greed mixed with ignorance, stirred generously with peer pressure. I bought in at a peak price because it can only go higher. It did not. When the value plummeted, I told myself it was just temporary. I even considered buying more because doubling down on a bad decision is the cornerstone of bad investing. I held onto that crypto for months, watching the numbers shrink like my optimism. Eventually, I sold it at a massive loss and rewarded myself for the lesson learned by immediately investing in another equally questionable venture. Next came penny stocks. If you are unfamiliar, penny stocks are shares of companies that have such low value that they might as well be selling hope instead of products. I convinced myself that I was finding hidden gems before the market noticed them. The market never noticed them. In fact, I am not entirely sure some of those companies were even real businesses. One of them claimed to be developing a revolutionary water purification system. But the only thing they successfully purified was my bank account of any remaining money. Of course, no young investor's journey is complete without falling for a friend's business opportunity. A close friend pitched me an investment in his startup that was guaranteed to succeed. It involved selling a product so niche that I am still not sure who the target audience was. Possibly time travelers or amateur magicians. I gave him the money, he gave me a handshake, and the business collapsed before it even launched. The only return on investment I received was the privilege of avoiding eye contact with him at social gatherings. The problem was not just the bad investments themselves. The real issue was that I had absolutely no strategy. I was chasing trends, gambling on rumors, and convincing myself that every decision was geniusly vile insight. I never asked the hard questions. Does this investment have long-term potential? Do I understand how it works? Can I afford to lose this money without eating instant noodles for the rest of the month? Banks and professional investors love people like me. We are the fuel that keeps risky markets alive. We jump in with optimism and jump out with empty pockets, while they collect fees, commissions, and the satisfaction of knowing we will probably do it again. Looking back, I realized that the smartest investment I could have made at that time was in education. Not a degree, not a seminar hosted by a guy in a rented Lamborghini, but actual, boring, unsexy knowledge about how markets function. That would have saved me from thinking that gut instinct was a reliable financial strategy. If you are a young investor right now, here is my unsolicited but deeply earned advice. If you hear yourself saying, "This is a sure thing," run in the opposite direction. There is no such thing as a guaranteed win in investing. The only people who talk about sure things are either lying or selling something. Sometimes both. Today, my portfolio looks much different. I focus on slow, steady growth. It is boring, yes, but so is not having to sell personal belongings to cover rent. I would rather be dull and solvent than exciting and broke. The moral of this very expensive story is simple. You can be an investing genius in all the wrong things. But the market does not reward enthusiasm. It rewards patience, discipline, and the ability to resist the urge to invest in whatever shiny idea is trending this week. Unfortunately, I had to lose a lot of money to figure that out. So, to every young investment prodigy out there, enjoy your confidence while it lasts. The market will humble you. And when it does, try to learn the lesson the first time. It is much cheaper that way.
living like a millionaire while earning like a barista.
There is a certain magic in pretending you are rich when you are not. It is like starring in a movie where you are the glamorous main character, except the production budget is whatever is left in your checking account after rent. The problem with this fantasy is that reality eventually shows up with a bill. Reality does not accept vibes as a form of payment. My personal journey into financial delusion began the moment I got my first real job. The paycheck was small, but my ego was enormous. I decided that since I was now earning my own money, I deserved to spend it like a celebrity on a farewell tour. Suddenly, dinners at budget restaurants felt beneath me. I needed artisanal brunches, $7 coffees, and sushi deliveries at midnight. The logic was flawless in my head. I am young, I work hard, I should treat myself. Unfortunately, the bank account disagreed. The bank account was more like, you are one Uber ride away from financial collapse. Then came the close. Why settle for reasonably priced items when you can buy overpriced labels that impress strangers for 3 seconds before they forget you exist? I convinced myself that expensive clothing was an investment in my image. It turns out that clothing depreciates in value the moment you remove the tag. Much like a car driving off the lot, except a car can actually take you somewhere. And of course, no fake rich lifestyle is complete without travel. Social media had convinced me that experiences are worth more than things. What they left out was that experiences also cost money, and that money needs to come from somewhere other than a rapidly maxing out credit card. I booked trips I could not afford because I was certain that future me would somehow figure it out. Future me did figure it out, by spending months eating instant noodles and avoiding social events to save money. The thing about living above your means is that it feels fantastic at first. There is a rush in pretending you belong in expensive restaurants, luxury hotels, and boutique shops. But that rush is temporary. The hangover, however, is very real. It arrives in the form of mounting debt, late-night anxiety, and the sudden realization that you have spent an entire paycheck on things that do not even make you happy anymore. I wish I could say I learned my lesson quickly, but I did not. Like many financially irresponsible young adults, I believed that the solution to overspending was simply earning more. So I worked extra hours, took side gigs, and briefly entertained the idea of becoming an influencer, because it seemed like a shortcut to easy money. None of it worked, because the problem was never the income. It was my inability to live within it. The companies selling the luxury lifestyle know exactly how to target people like me. They create ads that whisper, "You deserve this," and I believed every word. They are not wrong. You do deserve nice things, but you also deserve to be able to pay your bills without checking your account balance 5 times a day. Eventually, I reached a breaking point. It was not a grand epiphany. It was the moment my card was declined while buying something completely unnecessary. There is no faster way to kill the illusion of wealth than to have a cashier announce, in a voice loud enough for the entire store to hear, that your payment has been rejected. That was the day I decided to start living like someone who actually earns what I earn. Now, I budget. It is not glamorous, it does not get likes on Instagram, and nobody will stop me on the street to compliment my Excel spreadsheets. But it works. I still treat myself occasionally, but I no longer confuse self-care with financial sabotage. If you are living like a millionaire while earning like a barista, I have news for you. The math will always betray you. You cannot outspend your income forever. At some point the bills will catch up, and when they do, no amount of avocado toast will soften the blow. The truth is simple. Wealth is not about what you look like on the outside. It's about whether you can sleep at night without wondering if your rent payment will clear. Pretending to be rich is exhausting. Being financially stable may be boring, but it is also peaceful. So put down the $12 cocktail, walk away from the designer sneakers, and remember, real millionaires do not need to prove anything, and neither do you.
Relying on financial advice from people who are as broke as you are.
There's something strangely comforting about asking for financial advice from someone who is just as financially unstable as you. It feels like you are talking to someone who gets it. The problem is, they get it because they are in the same sinking boat. And when both of you are drowning, it is rarely the best time to discuss navigation strategies. When I was younger, I treated my friends like a panel of financial experts. None of them had savings accounts. A few of them had negative net worths. One of them still owed his mother 3 months of rent. But somehow, these were the people I trusted to tell me where to put my money. The advice I received was pure gold. If gold had no value and evaporated in the rain, one friend insisted that credit cards were free money as long as you did not think about it too much. Another swore that if I had just joined his side hustle selling energy drinks, I would be financially free in 6 months. Spoiler alert, the only thing that was free was the headache from drinking those energy drinks. We would gather for what we jokingly called financial meetings, which were really just group therapy sessions disguised as money talk. Someone would say, "I am thinking of buying this expensive gadget," and the rest of us, instead of saying, "That is a terrible idea," would say, "You deserve it." There was no budgeting, no planning, just a collective agreement to keep making bad decisions, because it made us feel better about our own. The worst part is that I followed this advice. I bought things I did not need, signed up for financial opportunities that were essentially scams, ignored actual experts because they do not understand our situation. Of course, they did not understand our situation. Our situation was financially irresponsible, chaos. The psychology behind this is simple. It feels good to hear what you want to hear. If you want to believe that investing in your cousin's pet grooming app is a good idea, you will find someone equally broke who will nod and say, "Absolutely." If you want to believe that ignoring your credit card bill is strategic, there will always be someone with an equally tragic balance to reassure you that it will work out. Here's the truth. Broke people giving financial advice is like two people who cannot swim, giving each other tips on deep-sea diving. The theory might sound convincing, but in practice, you are both just sinking faster. Eventually, I realized that every bad financial decision I had made in my early 20s had been endorsed by someone whose own bank account was in worse shape than mine. The blind leading the blind is bad enough. The broke leading the broke is a full-scale disaster. So, I did something radical. I stopped asking my friends for financial advice. I stopped treating group chats like think tanks. I started reading books written by people who had actually built wealth. I began following boring, unglamorous advice like spend less than you earn and pay off your debt. Yes, it was dull. And no, it did not get me applause from my friends, but my bank account slowly began to recover and my stress levels dropped with it. This is the part where some people will say, "But I cannot relate to rich people, so how can I take their advice?" Here's my answer. You do not need to relate to someone to learn from them. If you can take swimming lessons from someone who is not drowning, in fact, that is exactly who you should take them from. If you take nothing else from my mistakes, take this. Your financial future is too important to be shaped by people who cannot manage their own. Friends are great for movie nights, moral support, and making you feel better after a bad breakup. They are not qualified to give you guidance on your retirement plan. So, next time you are tempted to ask your equally broke friend for advice on your investments, remember that the only thing they are likely to give you is permission to make the same mistakes they are making. And trust me, misery loves company, but debt loves it even more.
Congratulations, you have graduated from the School of Financial Regret.
So here we are. After parading through the greatest hits of bad money decisions, from mistaking gambling for investing, to treating credit like a bottomless pit of free happiness, to living like royalty on a servant's wage, to taking advice from fellow shipwreck survivors, you are now officially an expert in what not to do. The truth is painfully simple. Most of us learn about money the same way we learn about hot stoves. We touch it, we get burned. And then we pretend the burn is a learning experience, instead of a scar that screams, "I told you so." And if you are still making these mistakes, that is fine. Just remember that the longer you keep doing them, the more creative you will need to get when explaining why you are still broke at 40. At the end of the day, avoiding financial disaster is not complicated. It is boring, repetitive, and lacks the adrenaline rush of blowing your paycheck on something shiny. It is also the only way to stop your life from becoming one long episode of broke and confused. So, congratulations. You now have two choices. Keep living in the glamorous chaos of bad financial decisions and enjoy the ride straight into debt hell. Or start making small, unsexy moves toward stability. One path makes for better Instagram stories, the other makes for actual sleep at night. Choose wisely. Your future self is already judging you.